War is the quintessential social trauma. It is a tragic breakdown of collective reason and moral goodwill that is enacted through lethal action and has ripple effects across generations, both for adults and for children of all ages. Young children are particularly vulnerable because the neural connections that underlie learning are particularly rapidly formed in the first 5 years of life. The massive dislocation of war can include the disruption of protective factors like food and shelter, predictable daily routines, and safe and stable attachment relationships. It can include repeated exposure to overwhelming sensory stimuli, like frightening visual scenes, booming noises, violent motion, and strong, noxious smells. It can include serious injury to the child and others. And most tragically, it can involve the traumatic loss of loved ones, each loss a permanent wound to the soul. Even when the war is far away, the absence of a military parent or loved one, and the knowledge that he or she is at risk changes the routines of the household and the emotional texture of life for the entire family. These cumulative risk factors leave a lasting stamp on the young child's brain structure, neurotransmitter systems, and HPA axis. We know from decades of research that early adversity is associated long-term with physical and psychological health problems through biological embedding, where trauma gets under the skin by generating lasting molecular changes, such as DNA methylation, which is particularly plastic during the sensitive period of early childhood. Recent studies show that epigenetic age acceleration, the discrepancy between biological age and chronological age, predicts physical and mental health problems in children, including higher odds of heart disease, cancer, asthma, PTSD, and symptom severity for depression and anxiety. Compounding the biological impact of early trauma is that humans strive to make meaning from their experiences starting as soon as they can process what is happening to them. We have seen 3-month-olds recoil in fear when seeing the adult who maltreated them, and 6- and 8-month-olds dissociating or collapsing in screaming fits when revisiting the scenes of their abuse. Young children learn best by imitation, and we have seen 2-year-olds reenacting scenes of violence and 3-year-olds hitting themselves on the head in the same way that they were hit or that they saw others being hit. The hardwired responses to imminent danger, fight, flee, or freeze, operate starting in the first year and quickly generalize to neutral stimuli that act as trauma reminders. Perceiving the world as relentlessly dangerous and unpredictably dangerous creates patterns of hypervigilance, emotional numbing, and reactive aggression that interfere with the child's calm deployment of attention, trust in the safety of relationships, and joyful exploration of the world, which are the engines of learning and mental health in the early years. All trauma, including the trauma of war, can disrupt the security of our most intimate relationships, which are the foundation for the biological, cognitive, and social underpinnings of mental health across the lifetime. This is most apparent for young children who are completely dependent on their parents and the adults who take care of them for their survival and well-being. The trauma of war can shatter young children's trust in the parents' capacity to protect. And this failure can stem from traumatic events that happen simultaneously to the parent and the child. For example, during a bombing or facing invading troops, or when receiving the news that a loved one has been killed, or because parents feel powerless when a traumatic event endangers their child's safety. For example, when a mine explodes near a child who might have run ahead to play in the rubble of the neighborhood, or because the parents themselves engage in family violence due to the stress of war, or a combination of all these factors repeated again and again. Above and beyond these situations, witnessing the death of a parent or loved one and losing a parent to death are the most profound tragedies that a child can experience. Freud described young children's trust in the parents as a protective shield that filters the intensity of danger signals and makes fear tolerable. War shatters this protective shield, overwhelming both the child and the parent with the horror of what is happening. When the parents need to prioritize survival by fighting, fleeing, or freezing, they cannot attend in the traumatic moment to the child's signals of need. And this disparity in the adult's and the child's priorities can create an alienating gulf in the subjective experience of the child and the parent. War trauma brings an unbearable immediacy to the universal childhood anxieties of separation and loss, losing love, body damage, and moral guilt, the fear that bad things happen to us because we ourselves are bad, and that our badness makes bad things happen to those we love. For the child, the rupture of the protective shield can mean you hurt me, you don't love me, you will leave me, and this all happened because I'm bad. My colleagues and I are consulting with clinicians in the front lines of war, and we find that restoring the protective shield is the key leading to an often dramatic reduction in the child's symptoms and in the parent's symptoms, and a restoration of the parent's loving energy towards the child. The child's most intense symptoms are often directed primarily against the parent, and the parents feel overwhelmed and guilty about their inability to protect the child. We continue to find that the child-parent psychotherapy principle of speaking the unspeakable is transformational and giving manageable meaning to the child's and parents' fears. Clinicians in war zones use an initial conversation with the parents to learn the specifics of what happened to the child and the family. Clinician and parent then create together a simple clinical formulation that we call the CPP formulation triangle, which explains the links between the traumatic events and the child's symptoms, identifies mistaken beliefs and misattributions, and guides parent and child to practice protective actions like loving physical contact, restorative sleeping rituals, and small moments of safe togetherness through activities that the family loves, like singing, reading, dancing, or cooking. In one example, a 3-year-old girl I will call Mara was alone with her mother in the basement of their house when their neighborhood was bombed and several surrounding houses were destroyed. When Mara and her mother emerged from the house, many of their neighbors were lying dead on the street, and there was blood and destruction everywhere. Mara cried, "A gorilla made big booms, and the people died." From a loving and well-adjusted girl, Mara became very angry at her mother. In the first therapy session, Mara moved back and forth between intense fear and anger, screaming, roaring, pretending to be a gorilla, and crying, pushing, hitting, and pinching her mother, wanting the mother to comfort her, and then angrily pushing her away. The therapist tried to keep up with these quick emotional changes, putting Mara's anger and fear into words, asking if she was angry at her mother because she did not stop the booms, and saying in the child's voice, "Mommy, I'm angry that you didn't stop the booms. And the booms were so scary." The mother listened, tried to embrace the child, and said, "It was really, really scary, even for me. I am sorry that I couldn't stop the booms. Now the boom stopped, and we are safe." Mara pushed her away, screaming, "I don't want you to be my mommy." The therapist said, "You want a mommy that can stop the booms. Mommy is so sorry that she couldn't stop the booms." And the child burst into tears. The therapist said, "It is so sad that nobody could stop the booms. Not even your mommy, who is so big and strong. Not even the soldiers who know how to fight the bad gorillas." The mother said with a choked voice and tears in her eyes, "I couldn't stop the booms, but now the boom stopped, and I can sing to you." And right there and then, she invented a song that she enacted through both angry and protective movements, telling the gorillas to go away and stop frightening her little girl, and making movements as if embracing the child. Mara seemed mesmerized and came very close to her, and the mother held her tight and whispered in her ear, "Thank you for showing me what is in your heart." Later that day, the mother texted the therapist that Mara asked for the song throughout the day, had not hit or pinched her, and was using words now for saying that she was mad and sad. In another example, a 4-year-old yelled at his father, "Why did you hide me first? Next time you need to hide first, because if you die, nobody can take care of us." These are just two examples showing the centrality and the potential healing power of the parent-child relationship, even in war. I don't want to downplay the enormous mental health challenges facing children and parents in war. The collective shattering of the protective shield at every level of society, including the moral level, leaves nobody untouched, with concentric circles of pain, fear, and rage that are most intense for those touched closely by it, but that taint the fabric of the entire society. At the same time, each of us has a role as allies in helping children and families cope in ways that promote age-appropriate reality testing about what happened and build safe togetherness whenever possible. Improving the quality of the parent-child relationship makes a big difference in healing from trauma. Just this week, our UCSF research colleagues, Alexandra Sullivan and Nikki Bush, received news that a top psychology journal will publish our findings that toddlers and preschoolers treated with child-parent psychotherapy show decreases in epigenetic age acceleration after 20 treatment sessions when compared with a group not receiving treatment. This biological marker improvement is in addition to decreases in PTSD and behavioral problems. Just like trauma, relationships get under the skin. And even in war, we need to help the family in order to help the child. I am grateful to NCTSN for creating a community of allies that care so that we're together in this heartbreaking but also soul-protecting effort. Thank you very much.